Okay, we're back. And we're going to go right into the depths. And we are immediately met with the crackle of arcane power, which means there's a whiz lab here. We use magic mapping because we definitely want to go to a whiz lab. Whiz labs have a lot of nice loot in them sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. I'm going to drop some wands real quick. Just dropping some stuff because there's probably going to be loot in there. And I don't want to have a full inventory when I go in. Alright, so I look for the yellow dots on the minimap. I see that the whiz lab is either here or here. And based on the topography here, this looks a little bit fancier to me. Chances are good this is the whiz lab, so that's our goal. We have to navigate through all this crap, which is probably just teeming with monsters. So let's do it. Swapping on to our electric greatsword. Well, there's some luck so far, but unfortunately, can't last forever. We run into a Yaktar pack. Okay, took that out. Let's keep moving. Take out the salamander shapeshifter, and there's our whiz lab. Let's see what we are working with, I guess. Oh, this is a good one. This is a fun one. Okay, I'm gonna magic map real fast. This is Wucad Mu's monastery. I'm partial to this one. This has some interesting mechanics. So in here, in the innermost chamber, you will see there's going to be like a statue, and it's the statue of Wucad Mu. As long as he is alive, monks are going to spawn right on top of you and attack you. So something I like to do here is I like to magic map, then I like to teleport and just wait a few turns. Alright, and the teleport will probably take you closer to the statue, saving you some walking time. Now we just walk around. Let's take this slowly because, as you can see, sometimes these monstrous demons spawn, or gray draconians, or I think even iron trolls will spawn. We're going to actually use agility real quick. Okay, yeah, there's a troll. Alright, let's take a look at Wucad Mu here. So he has shadow creatures, which is just more of these monks. He has brain feed, which does damage to your intelligence. Mass confusion, which we're immune to. Abjuration and draining gaze, which just saps your magic. So he can't do anything to us. It's his minions we need to worry about. Trying to think of the best way to kill him. I'd like to just Orb of Destruction him to death, but I don't think that's going to work out for us. Let's instead passage next to him, which it's been kind enough to land at our feet this time. Walk up next to him. And unfortunately, he is resistant to electricity, but it's the best we've got. I think this is a good spot to use Berserk Rage. Not strictly necessary, but, you know. Wanted to kill him as fast as possible. That gave us haste and might at the same time. Once he's dead, this place is totally free for the picking. So you'll find a manual, usually of fighting armor or dodging, I think. Or sometimes unarmed combat, I believe it can be. Unfortunately, armor manual has spawned for us, and, well, we can't use armor. You'll also find a potion of experience. I don't know if it's guaranteed, but it can spawn. We found one. Let's put it all into spellcasting. Orb of Destruction down to 3%, that's nice. I'm a little disappointed. I'd hoped to find like a fighting manual, but can't complain too much. Book of Enchantments is something you either always or almost always find here. I think the idea was formerly for it to give you haste, but that's not in this book anymore, so it's a little bit misplaced if you ask me, now that haste is no longer in this book, and haste is no longer a spell at all. Since Wucad Mu, it seems to be like, you know, it seems to be themed around like a monk and fighting, but that's fine. We will not be using this book, even though I had it tagged as something I wanted to buy. Speculatively, I was possibly going to get into casting deflect missiles, but we just didn't quite get there. Okay, spellcasting is a nice round 10. I think that we're just going to train defenses, and we'll also just turn conjurations on. And we'll just leave it like this for the rest of the game, probably. And now comes the part where we just kind of go through depths as best as we can. I saw a flayed ghost in there. I'm hoping that it doesn't come out. Oh man, we're slow and we're next to a flayed ghost. Cool. Let's think about this. Okay, so they're not resistant to electricity, so we're just going to use the Wand of Lightning. Very good way to take these guys out. I really don't like being slow next to an Ancient Lich. I'll tell you that. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to drink Cancellation. I'm not quite sure how we got slow in the first place, but that's fine. Really? Ah, there we go. Sometimes Ancient Liches they just don't want to die. Trying to fight one at a time here, but it's difficult when your enemy has a glaive. Fortunately, Mokleb is coming through for us for the most part on the healing. Alright, I've had it with this. We're going to dig. Oh geez. Wow, that is a lot of... This is the third flayed ghost. I used Passage of Galubria to go west, and this is the danger of using this spell. Instead of being able to use it myself, the Vampire Mage went in. So we're going to stop messing around here, and we're going to use a Blink Scroll instead. Let's... Okay, passage that way. And passage into this hallway. And now passage is going to be a little kinder to us, I think, because we're in a hallway. Cool. And we'll go up. So yeah, that was just like a nasty vault. I kind of wish I had used Immolation and just taken it out that way, but I didn't realize quite how big it was. Let's recharge our digging. The plan was to make a kill hole, but that doesn't always work out if you dig directly into the vault that you're trying to get away from. Oh wow. We auto-explore into a Lich, and he immediately summons a Shadow Fiend. No, thank you. We're gonna dig southwest. I don't want to fight him. One thing you can do is just keep making passages and go in. If you go in and you arrive at the wrong exit, it is randomized. You can just go in again, and you'll eventually get the right one. I'm going to dig right on this exit. I'm going to rest a bit so that Shadow Fiend goes away. It was summoned after all. Looks like they've recently changed it to make it so lightning rods recharge one charge at a time. I would say that's an excellent change. It was very awkward before. Here's Nicola. You really want to watch out for this guy. He can do something like, I don't know, 250 damage with Chain Lightning if it rolls well enough. I'm going to use a Scroll of Vulnerability. And then I'm going to confuse him. I mean, of course, we have... I probably should have just breathed on him, but that's fine. We actually have electricity resistance, but don't rely on that too much. Okay, cool. It's best to, if you have some way of disabling him, it's best to do so. Looks like we've got Saint Roca, who has spawned a bit too late to be terribly scary to us. These Boggarts, on the other hand, Boggarts are always scary, but especially in depths floors. Wow, what just happened? Here's a great example of a lack of GDR causing horrible problems. Look at this 2 exclamation point hit. I don't know exactly how much that is, but Orc Warrior. You know, we're level 25 and we're taking damage from Orc Warriors. That kind of thing wouldn't really happen that much if you were... if you were somebody wearing plate. Whoa, 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 whoa. Taking a lot of damage. Let's blink out of here. I'm being very liberal with my use of blink scrolls at this point, and the reason for that is I'm not going to be able to use them much longer. Once you're in Zot, blink scrolls are more or less useless. You can still use them to do a regular blink, I guess. But at that point, you'd probably rather just cast the blink spell most of the time. Sometimes I forget just how careful you have to be on a Draconian. You get into this mode usually on other characters where it's like, oh, I have 24 AC and 27 EV. That's not terrible. I can just tab things. Well, no, without GDR. Granted, this isn't exactly like, my AC isn't exactly incredible right now. I mean, it's not Diesel, which I think is considered to be above 50 AC. But it's not terrible. 24 isn't awful. It's just rather difficult to get your AC higher than that, and well, if you're a Draconian and you don't have plus AC rings, and you're not transmuting. But for the most part, we can tab this stuff. We just need to be a little bit more careful. A lot of Hell Knights, but they don't really cause us much of a problem. None of this stuff is really causing us a problem if we fight it intelligently. You know, one thing at a time. Oh, we auto-explore directly back into the ghost. Let's lure him, as we like to do. And he dies. Quite a lot of things showing up here. Again, normally I wouldn't be too worried about it on a traditional melee character. On this one, we kind of are. So let's take it one hit at a time. Oh man, these stone giants. They're not joking around. I do have my low hit point warning set rather low. Okay, we'll go into this hallway and kill things one at a time. The smart way. Luckily, we don't have to worry about swapping resistances anymore because we have +1 across the board. Technically, I suppose we're lacking our core without swapping, but chances are we will not be swapping on for that. Oh, wow. Lots of things. And this is a good time to remember that we do have Animate Dead. These corpses just spawned in this vault. Animate Dead is excellent throughout the game, but it really starts to shine more than you would expect it to actually later in the game as you're in the depths. And I should definitely remember to use it more. It's even useful inside of Zot, if you get some gold dragons and whatnot. They're a bit of a liability right now because she can do mass confusion. Looks like Enchantress has spawned, and she's going to be able to confuse my friends pretty easily. Nonetheless, let's make them fight through all these undead. Just taking a look at my scrolls here. I have something fun planned. Let's alright, this is silly. Let's do this. Scroll of Immolation. Alright. Let's see what happens. Awesome. Alright. Enchantress has been killed. That's always a fun trick. You can definitely make your own undead explode. And provided you're not like worshipping Okawaru or somebody who doesn't like that. I mean, yeah, of course they'll go hostile if they get hit by one of the immolation explosions, but it sure is fun and satisfying to see them, to see your enemies destroy one of your allies and get immediately punished for it. Alright. Usually I like to check out the fairy dragon skills on the Enchantress, but unfortunately today we are a Draconian and cannot do that. Well, I suppose I could identify it if I really wanted to, but what's the point? I'll just fight this flayed ghost. If he's alone, it's not that big of a deal. We're taking a lot of damage, but as soon as we kill him, we get it all back. It's best to keep an eye out if you decide to do that, though, because it's certainly possible for something to show up in the middle of you fighting. I think we've just about got this floor done. I'll take a look at artifacts real fast to make sure I haven't missed anything. Oh, I forgot to talk about the Staff of Wucad. It's like a Staff of Energy on steroids. Used to be considered incredibly necessary for ziggurats if you wanted to do a bunch of those super zigs. I mean, obviously it's still good for that. You just wear it and it gives you energy back if you channel. We'll probably make some use out of that, maybe in Zot. We have some evocations, so why not? Almost forgot I'd pick that up. Okay, nothing we've really missed here. How about hats? Okay, no hats we care about. Boots? No. Okay, that's pretty much it, I guess. Alright, we're good. let's head down to the next floor. I'm gonna orb this guy to death. Spriggans are an interesting foe because, well, they're hard to hit. They have very high EV. Oh man, so many stone giants. Really obnoxious. Yeah, Spriggans are hard to hit, but if you use an attack that bypasses that, like Orb of Destruction, they become very easy to kill. Certainly would like to swap to my staff before I cast these orbs, but you know, it's not always a luxury. You don't necessarily have the time to do that, and sometimes you'd rather just use the orb and get the attack in. Hey, that's good. See, check it out. This Etten, very high-level enemy, but still gets confused by my breath. Never necessarily stops being useful. It's an interesting little vault. I'll just kill it with Song of Slang. Let's lightning rod this brain. Lightning rod is a really useful tool for, you know, if you don't have a bolt spell, if you're a melee type, but you still want to hit things that are behind stuff that you're also trying to kill. Lightning rod is a good way to get at those things, even without killing the stuff in front of it. Let's see, looks like another wand of digging spawned and an enchant weapon scroll. We're going to drop one of these wands of digging. Don't need two, just for inventory management purposes. Looks like we have some rot. I'll probably drink a potion or two here in a minute. Yeah, we have 11 potions of curing. Let's go ahead and drink one. You can use healing, you can use curing, whatever. I'm not going to waste heal wounds, though, when we have so much curing just lying around. Looks like we have another vault full of bad guys. You know, I have so much immolation, let's have some fun with it. May as well use it. See, immolation, even if you don't have much resist fire, if you're worshipping Mokleb, you know, 1 pip is sufficient for anybody really, but for Mokleb it's super sufficient, because every time something dies, you're probably going to get healed. So if you really are partial to immolation shenanigans. Whoa, hello. There's a Juggernaut here. Don't want to neglect to notice that. Let's read vulnerability. Probably not the best thing to do with a Orb of Eyes around. Okay, good. He's confused. Let's make sure this Orb of Eyes dies real fast. Okay, good, it's dead. And of course, Juggernaut confused wanders into the lava, so that was fine. Probably a little bit of a misplay to use. I mean, the Scroll of Vulnerability, maybe I should explain what I did there. It's a really handy tool. It's considered to be like a cursed item. you won't automatically pick it up unless you, well, if you have it identified, you will not automatically pick any up unless you're carrying them or you've set it to auto-pick them up on purpose. But they're actually useful because they make your magic resistance halved, and they also make everything else on the screen have half magic resistance, and so you can imagine how useful that is to hex things that are otherwise unhexable or close to unhexable. I mean, I just confused that Juggernaut, and I only have 8.4 evocations. So it's useful against nasty things that are just a bit annoying to kill. Iron Giants, Juggernauts, that sort of thing. Big damage. You wouldn't need to use it on something like an Etten because it already has low magic resistance, but it becomes useful for things that, you know. You can even use it on demons. If you had the Discord spell, for example, you could use that on demons that would otherwise have such MR that it would be almost impossible to get them. No loot in this fancy vault, but that's okay. No loot that we want anyway. And that's depths 2. We'll keep going. I would like to kind of, I mean, I would be interested in diving this probably, but I feel like, ooh, wow, we need to be more careful. I feel like on this character we could use all the help we can get, so I'm gonna go for the extra experience. Let's let the Lamp of Fire kill these guys. Got a little cocky with those Hornet Riders there. Is this one of those teleporter vaults? Because if it is, I'm not going into it. I guess we'll find out. Oh, it's a teleporter vault. I recognize it too. Jeez, so much damage. I'm gonna go ahead and magic map. So this vault is a little bit dumb. You go in, you get a wand of digging, which I think is actually full, and then there's like a bunch of stuff you can dig out, and there's like a bunch of monsters on this side, and there's a bunch of monsters on this side, and I think there might even be cacodemons, so they can dig it out themselves if they feel like it. I may actually go in here, now that I've seen which vault it is, after I clear out the rest of the floor, because I know that I can just teleport out of this thing if it gets too stupid. But, you know, there might be some nice loot in there. Considering how long it's taking me to get through depths, I'll probably cut the video short once I finish out depths and make Zot and the Orb Run its own thing. But that's fine. It's all the same, really. Just clearing out the floor. It's kind of interesting how, you know, for almost any character who belongs in depths, the majority of depths is just kind of a formality. It's just that occasionally you run into something that causes you a problem, like a Caustic Shrike, a pack, or an Ancient Lich, or whatever. But, like, there's no character that belongs in depths that's not going to be able to take a pack of ugly things, for example, so I do find it interesting how popcorn is just kind of a thing that happens in this game throughout the whole game. And it makes you wonder about the design philosophy a little bit. Like, how much time do you want your player to be mindlessly tabbing, and how much time do you want your player to be making decisions? I heard about this project called Hellcrawl, which I think the goal was to take out all the stuff where you're not making decisions. I think that's interesting, but I don't know if your average person would find that fun. I think that you almost need to give the player a break. It's just finding that right balance where you don't give them too much of a break where they're just kind of mindlessly tabbing, and you know, if they're not making the decisions for too long, they're not going to be having fun. But if you give them this interminable like slog of, you know, tons and tons of situations where they're almost dead every 5 seconds, well, I think that can demoralize people as well. Alright, I see that there's a nice big pile of loot here, tempting me to take a look, although these 2 artifact rings aren't terribly interesting to me. Are they really going to be better than what I've got? Unlikely. I'm actually more interested in the enchant weapon, but even that I'm not terribly interested in. None of this loot is worth risking my life. Nevertheless, I'm going to go in. Because I can just teleport. So yeah, the stone wall can't be broken by these dudes, but these rock walls can. Wow. Paralysis eyeball. And a caustic shrike. Oh boy. But it's not really going to be able to... It doesn't look like they're going to break the walls until I get past the horizontal line where these guys are. Unless, where are these dudes coming from? Maybe these guys are being funneled in from... Oh, nope, I lied. Well, that was just that one, though. See, the idea was I thought these are the only guys on the board that can dig. I didn't see him. But I don't think they will dig out their way to me until I pass, like, right here. And then they start wanting to go in that direction. Let me just... I'm going to keep fighting until it's clear to me that those two areas have been opened up. Because I don't think they have. This is like... It's almost meant as a puzzle, I think. I mean, I very much plan on teleporting out of here. Or just taking this hatch. Because it's pretty silly. I don't want to fight all this stuff. Not the flayed ghost, not the paralysis eye, not the... Well, I'm calling it a paralysis eye. It's really just a floating eye, but effectively that's what it does, is it stutter casts paralysis on you. We're just going to take the hatch. None of this is really worth it. I just wanted to take a look, kind of, at what was going on in here. And I decided it's not worth my time. However, I got a wand of digging out of it, which we already had, but... Jeez, so much stuff in my way. We want the Earth Mage to be dead, because what we're going to do next is we're going to finally make a kill hole, which I've been wanting to do for a while. And this is the setup. Ideally, you don't have anything behind you. the setup is one little spot where things get funneled in to attack you. It's a very effective strategy. One that you should definitely use if you have enough digging to support it, or if you are a formicid. Oh, you know what? I noticed that I picked up that scroll of acquirement a little bit ago, and I just kind of thought about, oh, well, I thought to myself, I'll use it later, and I forgot about it. Shouldn't do that. You should always use a scroll of acquirement as soon as you find it, almost always. So let's go ahead and use it. Let's think about what we want first. I think that we want armor, because other than gauntlets, we'd be happy to replace any of our armor. Yeah. Unfortunately, we find some gloves that we definitely do not want, so we leave it behind. That's fine. I mean, they believe the meme is that it's the scroll of disappointment or something like that. So jeez, we're getting out of here is what we're doing. I stuck around way too long. Okay, I'm gonna actually, because I'm next to a bunch of crystal walls and a guy that can frostbolt me, I'm going to drink healing. And the reason I say crystal walls is there's an earth mage down there, and he can explode those. Let's go up and rest. Let's not fight next to a Zot trap, because that's not smart. Okay. This run just doesn't feel smooth. I've noticed that any run where I try to hybridize just doesn't feel terribly smooth unless I'm hybridizing, you know, once extended starts. Then it can be smooth. Oddly enough, the harder, what I would say the much harder combo of Octopode Air Elementalist, the first video series I made, felt significantly smoother to me than this run. I guess because as an Octopode, you know, you know that standing next to things is a bad idea in pretty much any situation, and so when you take a ton of damage in melee, it comes as no surprise. Whereas with somebody with like 20 dodging and 20 fighting training, you start to get the impression that you should be able to melee things and not take 100 damage instantly, but that's not a good assumption to make on almost any character, but especially one without GDR. I probably said something about GDR like 5,000 times in these videos, but I really can't stress it enough. It does matter. I'm not saying that you should base your equipment choices on it, but I mean, if the choice is between some GDR and 0% GDR, well, I think you can see where I'm going with this. One of these days, I should do a Draconian that is either a transmuter or ends up as a transmuter, because those are very fun. People say transmuter is like one of the worst starts, and they're not exactly wrong, but it becomes very fun very quickly, in my opinion. Once you get dragon form, once you get statue form. Statue form is the real winner, just because it's like highly defensive and it does a ton of damage with the fists, and so you're getting the best of both worlds. Dragon form is more your high damage glass cannon kind of form. Also gives you fire resistance, 2 pips of it, and cold vulnerability. So it's like your Orb of Fire fighter. I like transmutations because it gives you a solution for pretty much every situation you could find yourself in. It's very agnostic to what items the game gives you. Aside from the spells themselves, of course, you need to find those. Whoa, I'm just tabbing away as the Brimstone Fiend shows up. Jeez. Let's pog our way back to safety. Yeah, let's get out of here. Really got to be more careful around liches. I mean, you think it's not going to be a problem until they summon a final tier demon on you, like a Brimstone Fiend. And that's kind of the risk with any sort of caster. Liches, ancient liches, any kind of elf caster that can summon or do different things. You get the impression that, oh, it's so easy. And it's not a problem, because maybe you fight a couple of them and they just don't do much. Because unlike a melee enemy, they have a number of options available to them, and some of those options are just suboptimal. Swinging on you is suboptimal for a lich that has access to, like, the Iron Shot spell. They'd rather be casting Iron Shot on you. So it's very easy to get into the habit of thinking, well, oh, they can't do anything to me because they didn't do anything to me the last 10 times I fought a lich. And then you run into, like, the lich that just wants your soul, and is prepared to do what it takes to get it. And so that lich, the RNG decides that it's going to have that lich cast LCS on you 7 times in a row. And now all of a sudden you've got this serious problem. Or you have the lich or the elf mage or, you know, deep elf sorcerer, whatever. Where you know, the first 5 of them, they just kind of like stupidly try to swing on you with their sword. And then the next one summons like 2 Brimstone Fiends and then acid blasts you, or hellfires you over and over, or whatever. So I think you get my point. That casters they're powerful in an insidious way, in a way that really plays on a person's psychology. Because like human beings we're basically like pattern matching machines. Only the problem is we're not very good at it. I mean, we'll see patterns where none are there, and it's like the old thing where you're watching a busy street, and the last 20 cars you saw were black, and so the 21st car is going to be black. Well, not necessarily, but that's kind of the way most people. I think that's the way that a lot of people think. And it's not like they're dumb or anything, that's just how we're built, is to search for patterns. And when you're playing a game like this, you'll start to make connections that don't necessarily make a lot of sense if you think about them for a minute. Okay, here we go. Definitely got the entrance to Zot here. Coming up. And of course we know that because we're running into dragons, we're running into draconians, and I don't know if it's always, I think always, the entrance to Zot will be like a special vault that has a bunch of dragons and draconians and things like that. As far as I can remember, that's like 100% of the time. So I'm just dragging things into my kill hole here and killing them off one at a time. Fighting a big group of draconians is never fun. Especially, you know, they seem to have gotten nothing but stronger over time, these draconians. They used to be mostly popcorn. And there are ways to sort of reduce them to popcorn still. Invisibility still does a pretty good job, since none of them really see it. I'm partial to freezing weapons because they're still Draconians, and so the non-white ones will be slowed by freezing weapons. But if you're just like a character that isn't utilizing any of the special tricks to clear them out easily, or even if you are, they actually can be pretty strong, pretty dangerous. And the main reason, well, there are a couple reasons actually. They're like the Stormcallers that can just directly do damage to you. There's the ones that can Hellfire you. Hellfire is always dangerous. But the thing that I would rate as the top fear of me when I go into Zot is one of these guys moving you around, and they'll do it. They just teleport you. And so it's certainly possible to be teleported behind a bunch of Draconians, and it's just not fun. Hey, wow, we have found an amulet that's really good, and we're going to wear it. We lose Regenerate, we gain Regen MP, and we get another pip of Fire Resistance, another pip of Negative Resistance, and a couple of Strength. That's something that we like to have in Zot. That's very beneficial to us. Wow. I'm liking some of the stuff this game has given me. It may seem like I've complained a lot this run, but it's more about the combo and some of the choices I've made than what the game has given us. I would say this is a fairly generous game for 3 runes, for what we found in 3 runes. Certainly good. You can go a whole game without finding a single artifact. It's rare, but it's possible. So, anytime you find even one artifact, you should consider yourself, you should say, hey, I'm lucky I didn't, or if you find one decent artifact, I mean, something that gives you some, like a resistance in an unconventional spot, like gloves or anything like that, you should consider yourself lucky and then use that to its biggest advantage. I think we could have certainly gotten this far without these 2 rings, but it's made the path a lot easier. Okay, so yeah, this is like a 40-50 minute video, so I'm gonna stop here and probably call it a night, and then the next time we'll go into Zot, and I'll just do Zot and hopefully the Ascent all in one video, and hopefully not get myself killed in the process. So until then, I'm signing out.